From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Jennifer Landa.
And I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And we're here to talk about Star Wars news. And, every once in a while we complain that there's, not a lot's a slow news week. We're going to talk about toy releases, which are always cool. Let's not forget toys are cool. But this week we actually got some things to dive into. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got some Rey movie news. We've got some Skeleton Crew. We've got some Kylo Ren, dare I say, content with the hard C coming our way. We'll talk about the Kylo Ren storytelling coming our way in the comics in a bit. But before we get to all that, as always, I want to remind you that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. We are recommending, we always like going across the catalog, but we're recommending right now Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher. Check that wonderful book out. Speaking of sequel, era, and related content and stories, download your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audio book. That's the Audible A. We've got the Ask A, Joseph, which I think has changed on the fly here.
It is, yes. So we have been striving towards a goal to get to 415 paid members on our Patreon. And as of this recording, that's exactly where we are. So we have unlocked a private live stream for patrons. Well, we don't know what that will be other than fun and not weird. We keep weirding it up by saying private. It'll be not weird. It'll be fun. And I think we'll do that regardless of whether we drop down. But hey, maybe we'll set a new goal for 420 paid patrons, and then we'll do a weird private stream. I don't know. I'm just making this up. Anyway, the point is, thank you all for becoming patrons. Thank you for keeping those numbers up where we kind of need them to be in order to keep the show going. So thank you all. If you're interested, you can check out patreon.com/ForceCenter always.
Look, at some point, I know we should have switched to exclusive live stream, but private just seems much more. Come on inside. We'll tell you something no one else knows. Come on in. It's more that, if we hit 420, we'll toke up. We'll toke up on a private live stream.
Oh, no.
No.
Don't sin, kids. Don't sin, kids.
I will mime a death stick from Star Wars. How about that?
All right.
Mime it. I won't even touch a real one.
Yeah. There you go. I got a good prop cigarette I had bought for a sketch character. We can do it. We could do a film noir hard drag on that cigarette.
Make it work.
Also want to remind you that we're on Blue Sky and Threads. We'll tell you at the end of the show where to find you, but we're on there since it's a good spot, those two spots. Well, Threads is a weird spot. I'm having some weird issues. It's thick, but Blue Sky is growing. Maybe one day I'll take my napping squirrel photo off my banner, but we'll see. As always, we like to catch up and see what's going on. It's been a busy time for you, Joseph, I know. So your Star Wars and life adventure just might be the business of filmmaking, but I don't want to assume that.
Yeah, I mean, I really haven't had many Star Wars adventures that people haven't seen live on air. We had a great live stream, a great spooky Star Wars themed live stream, and I finally opened my spooky themed clone trooper with a skeleton that I got 2 years ago. So that is probably my biggest Star Wars adventure. And then, yes, I've just been incredibly busy trying to pull everything together for this film. That is going forward that I'm filming as we record 3 weeks from today. So there's a lot to get done. So that has been my primary adventure.
That's a good adventure to have. I know it's trying you, but this is a great thing. We're full supportive here. So also acknowledge too, in the coming weeks, month or so, if you see Joseph's face a little less there on ForceCenter, don't you worry. He's out there making a feature film. So we'll update you on that kind of stuff. But Jennifer, you're not making a film, but you're making costumes. And I saw one of your costumes being made pretty much live on Instagram stories. How'd that go?
I know. Well, my daughter on Wednesday or something was like, I don't want to be Trolls. I don't want to be the Trolls character that she had been wanting to be for a year. She's like, I want to be Princess Leia. And normally I'd be like, no, absolutely not. We don't have enough time. I already started your costume. No. Star Wars character? Absolutely. So I said, I will make it happen. I will match you. My husband got a C-3PO costume from Facebook Marketplace, met up some guy by Magic Mountain, got his costume.
Whoa.
Yes.
It's a drive for you.
then for me, I was like, I'm going to make R2D2 out of a laundry basket. And we made it happen. And she was so happy and felt so proud. And it just was like, this is why I do this. I've been waiting your whole life to cosplay with you. And here we are. So, but yeah, it came together in like a couple days. So it was a little stressful. The garbage truck is here.
Look, I don't. If someone's like, Ken, make an R2D2 costume, you have a year to do it. I wouldn't know where to begin. I wouldn't even know how to get to it. So, you got skills. You got skills. It was fun to watch.
Thank you. Lots of references online helped.
That's good. My adventures are pretty direct. I've been going through the great selling of the Star Wars figures project, I should say, and sold a couple more this weekend, Cantina-related figures to one of our ForceCenter faithful, Hell's Bells. So it's always a journey because these were figures I've had. These aren't like Black Series I bought over the last 10 years. These are figures I've had for about 20 years. So it was fun to kind of pull them out of Ponda Baba, some of those Cantina Power of the Force figures. But also reminded me, Joseph, of one of my favorite things we've ever done here is those Star Wars ranked on the figures.
Yes.
Check those out, everybody. We could even try to link below or link above to watch it. I love going through it. We might have to just find another way to go through the figures again from another point of view because the Power of the Force line, Power Force 2, is still, I don't know, just full of so many weird, wonderful Star Wars memories of something being back. But is that how Luke looks? I don't know, but great adventure. I was going through the bucket.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, and I have to do that soon when I get done with the film and go through all the figures. So I'm looking forward to remembering which ones do I still own.
Yeah. Which ones are there? And it's been fun. I got to go through the bucket and storage, and all the memories are there. So from there, we are going to get to Star Wars news because there is, like I said, a little bit of news to get to. As always, some of it's developing or changing. By the time we get this episode out, there could be more news on the Skeleton Crew. There could be more updates on the new Jedi Order film. We are going with what we have here right now. Puck's News first reported this, but it was later confirmed by other legacy industry sites that Stephen Knight has departed the new Jedi Order project. That's what we kind of all call it here in the fandom. Who knows what it will be called? It's still set to be directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, and Knight had been on the project for about 18 months. Knight had turned in drafts of the script, but he, of course, is the Peaky Blinders showrunners. Pinky. You got to say Peaky, not Pinky. Peaky Blinders showrunner. And is currently busy with the Peaky Blinders movie. So no reason for the departure was announced, though I think that would factor in. Daisy Ridley had recently spoken publicly about the movie, saying things are evolving and continue to be very excited. There'll be an update soon. I think that was even prior to this news kind of coming on out. This wasn't announced. This was kind of pulled out of the movie news world with this kind of exclusive scoop. She also had another interview. I haven't had a chance to read it, but I think she talked about the creative process and like in kind of where that stuff is. So, Joseph, Jennifer, here we go again. Here we go again. Oh, no. What do we, let's talk about the overall reaction to this news, and then maybe Joseph will figure out what we like about this news.
Ooh, yeah. I love starting with the positive. To me, it's just a great sign that they're really working to have a clear vision and taking their time to have the movie be what they want it to be, not rushing to hit a specific date. I think this has always been, to me, a little bit of an interesting combination. I'm not super familiar with his work. I've never watched Peaky Blinders, but I have no doubt that that he is a phenomenal writer and a great writer for the project. In some ways, he feels like a really straightforward, solid. He's got a ton of experience, no baggage that I'm aware of. So he seems like this really sort of solid, maybe almost traditional choice for get a great writer for an important film. And then Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy as a director feels like a really sort of exciting and different take. She is bonkers accomplished, Academy Award winner for documentaries. Her life experiences and the work that she's done in documentaries are aligned with everything that Lucasfilm has said about what this film is. So for me, there's a little bit of a, like, you've got a really exciting, very different director, and then you have a very traditional screenwriter. So for me, the positive thing is like maybe the film is evolving in terms of it is going more toward what is Sharmeen's vision. And maybe that's where some of the just, hey, it's evolving. Not to me, there's nothing about this that the script is good or bad. It's just that evolving word seems very important to me. Evolving is great when you're developing something and taking your time. So maybe that's the most positive thing to me is evolving is good when you're in development, which is what this film is.
Still in development. I think I've even mentioned it before, but Thomas Lennon and Robert Ben Garant, a lot of you know him from Reno 911, screenwriters in demand for a long time, released a great book in the early 2000s called Screenwriting for Fun and Profit. And one of the big lessons from that they kind of put out there is they love when they're fired or moved off of movie projects in a big studio system, because that means it's more likely that the movie will get paid and they will get some money. It's just kind of part of the process. I think, before I pitch it to you, Jennifer, I think one of the things that goes on in this conversation, this is kind of a here we go again. We can talk about the Lucasfilm involved and some of the track record that might, put a little dark cloud over the hope of this film. And I get it, and I think that's understood and understandable. But this isn't a Rian Johnson auteur situation, right? This isn't him, his script, even JJ, though he worked with Lawrence Kasdan, and then, of course, later on Chris Terrio. I think this is more of a team. Rogue One, a movie just absolutely loved by everyone, but not well. You know what I mean. It's still one of the most celebrated Star Wars films. Has a story by John Knoll, developed by Gary Whitta and Gareth Edwards and Chris Weitz and Tony Gilroy, and that's kind of more normal. Even though that film I know had some issues during the production of it, that's kind of more normal for this stuff too. So that's kind of one of my overall takes, Jen. But your thoughts here and what you might like about this news.
Yeah, it totally is normal. Back in the day, it would be in like a little blurb in Variety, Stephen Knight exits project and new writer being sought after, whatever. And it's not really news in that sense. But I'm actually very hopeful about this, because to me, this means, in my opinion, that the Rey movie is really going to be about Rey, getting to know her perspective, getting in her inner thoughts. And I think that this is an opportunity for them to hire a woman, or at least hire a team that has a woman on it. When you have a Rey movie, I think that that's kind of, why not, right? Why not in this day and age when we have so many talented writers out there? I'm sure Stephen Knight was great. Maybe he got the story in a place where they're like, yeah, this is good, but we want to take it in a slightly different direction, maybe aligning with what you're saying, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's vision. But yeah, you look at the great movies, the great series, from My Little Pony to Barbie, they have female writers, and you can tell, and kids especially can tell. I can tell. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm excited. Now watch they hire a 55-year-old male writer, which is fine. It could be great, right? But I don't know. It's a chance, is all I'm saying.
It is, and feel free to give more thoughts here too, Joseph, on this writer of it all. But I understand this is not episode 10, though at times we might all, even I kind of feel like, why not just call it episode 10? That'd be kind of fun. I mean that in a good way, like bringing continue the story, bringing the characters. But that might lock you into a trilogy and it's marketing, branding, whatever. But this is a story that might go beyond Rey, but it's Rey's at the center. They bring Daisy Ridley out. It only happens because she's like, this is a kick-ass story, the concept, and I'm here. So without a doubt, to Jen's point, I felt Stephen Knight, the name alone, was not an odd fix because he's a super talented guy, clearly. But just like, oh, okay. Now we can maybe find someone new, like Jen said, a woman, younger even, I don't know, someone who has different influences to bring to the story now. Yeah.
No, I agree with that, and I want to support what Jennifer said. And I know people always get upset about these conversations and go to like, what, a man can't write women? I almost always write every one of my stories with a woman is the protagonist, because it's usually what makes sense to me. Sometimes if I have something specific to say, it's a man as a protagonist. I don't think men can't write women and vice versa and all of those things at all. But this project is about Rey at the center, with a director who has made documentary work about women's lives. And what she has spoken about at Celebration is this is going to be a story about a righteous uprising of guardians of peace and justice and the forces in the galaxy that don't want them to exist. That says to me that maybe this is a story about people who understand what it is to have been made to be less than or held back by other elements in society. And so those things make me feel like if this film is wrestling with some of those ideas in the context of how people would react to the Jedi in the galaxy, and framing them in some of those real world ways, which I think the Jedi always have been, then it makes sense to maybe have somebody who's had those same kind of lived experiences that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy clearly has. And I think the other thing for me on this, and then I will stop talking, is the tradition of film is to give the authorship to the director. And yes, many times directors are like, great, the script's kind of this jumping off point, and it's all in the sound and the image, and I rewrite it on the set and all that. Other things are like, hey, in my opinion, the reason that a lot of the Russo brothers films are fantastic is Marcus and McFeely, those writers who do a phenomenal job with the script. My point is, we always discuss film with the director is the author, but the script is the story. It's what happens. It's the meaning. And so I think it's important to have the right script. Sorry. Final thing I'll say on this is this is framed in a very specific way. This isn't he was let go. This is he left. So it might just be like, we're really happy with this. It's going in the right direction. Let's do 8 more drafts. And he's like, I got to do my Peaky Blinders movie. I'm going to exit this project. Thanks. There's no conflict. It's possible that there's no conflict. He left the project is the way this is framed. Not Lucasfilm changed their mind and axed him. It's that he left. So it might be that they're all aligned and they just needed another writer to come in and continue the journey.
Yeah. Yeah, and a sub-question to this here. We got a lot of news to get to today, I know, so maybe we won't dive in as deep. But the sub-question is, hey, there is this kind of, here we go again. That's kind of, it's easy to spin that narrative of, more problems on a film. We know that this may have begun with a version with Damon Lindelof and his writing team and all that stuff. They're moved off, and here we are now. And going to Rogue One, going to Solo, going to history. I get it. There's all these wonderful think pieces and essays out there. But I think it's easy if you look beyond the headline and just look at the headline to what you're saying, Joseph. It's pretty normal. It's pretty calm. It lines up with his film for his show being made. And 18 months is a long time for a screenwriter to be on a big studio project that he's not directing. I think that's a long time. That's a good run.
Several of those months probably don't exist because they're during the strike.
Correct. Yeah. Oh yeah. Remember that?
Right.
Remember that thing? Remember that thing 10 years ago?
I do.
It was a year.
10 crises ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's using part of the, I'm trying to frame a question for you both here, but I guess I'll just say where I'm at. Like I do get a little grumpy with the way these headlines are immediately spun and spinned off into trouble and and we can point at the big the channels that are going to run with this, and they're going to put red eyes on the thumbnail, all that stuff. They're doing their thing. I'm having a problem with the folks on the ground, so to speak, who I'm seeing on threads, who I'm seeing on my Facebook page, who I know, who are around town, who are already celebrating the demise of this movie just simply because they can and they want to. That's really muddling up the headline too. So if you're out there feeling a little hopeless about this film and it's a character you love and a movie you want made, just stay the course. Yes, anything can happen. The business is crazy. Lucasfilm could Daisy Ridley could be like, you know what, I went a path that now I'm not. Now I'm out. Anything could happen. But I think look beyond that. Look beyond that muddling and that dust that's being kicked up. I think this is just a normal thing. Jennifer, I don't even have a question.
I agree.
I'm grumpy of that. That is, I see that every day now.
It's frustrating because what people aren't realizing is the importance of this film. When I think of Star Wars Celebration and Comic-Cons, and you see tons of little kids dressed as Rey, when I'm talking to kids, I was going to share this earlier. I won't get into it too much, but I had a conversation with 2 young girls, about 7 and 8 years old. Their parents are in the business. Okay. So they know what Star Wars is, but they had no idea who R2-D2 was. They didn't really know much about Star Wars, but they know Princess Leia. Kids want these types of heroes. Rey is an incredibly important character. This movie is incredibly important. It'd be foolish for them to rush into it and to not try and bring all these young kids that have grown up with it or who are new to it into the fold and be like, here is this hero that you can identify with, relate to, get into, and join the Star Wars fandom. So if they need to take 2 more years, fine. I don't think that this is trouble at all. I think that this is them getting it right, which is really, really smart, especially with the way that things have been going.
Yep. I really agree, and I will own that I am stressed, so I will try to take a deep breath and be calm. In my opinion, this is just nothing. This is absolutely normal development. It's happening on a million movies that you don't hear about because they're not Star Wars. It's utterly normal. This is not news. This is like man cashes check using digital device. Like, why is that news? It's just what happens every day. And in my opinion, if you're seeing videos with red eyes, that's a grift. You're being manipulated. And if there are people, in your social media feed who are celebrating, like, hey, nobody needs to like the sequel trilogy. Nobody needs to rate this character. You can be a Star Wars fan and go, I'm not excited for this movie. But why do you have to be out there celebrating it? Nobody's talking about criticizing it. Why do you got to be out there celebrating it? Why do you got to be salivating for this movie to fail? Is Star Wars not a joyful thing? Are movies not a joyful thing? You got to make it a sport, and you got to dunk on this one in particular. Why? That is not criticism. That is not preference. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Don't post about it. If you're more excited for the other movie, talk about the movie you're excited about. Why is it a priority to blast anger and mockery at this project?
I think it's fair to ask them why. When I see this one particular one at a party next, I'm going to ask why. I'll have a couple whiskeys in me. I want to know why, because I think I have an answer. Hey, it was reported the Mandalorian and Grogu movie's principal photography was wrapped. You can find that out there. I didn't dive deep into that story. I just heard that, and I went, yay, I'm not going to verify it, Joseph. I'm going to believe this news. But it's putting it on course for a May 26th release date. The December 2026 release date still looms. So going back to this a little bit, Jennifer, all right, so what happens with New Order film or any project? Any Star Wars project does not meet that release date. What do you feel about these release dates? We are now 10 years on of use to studios securing release dates and announcing those release dates and then having to move off the release dates because life happens, strikes happens, or movies don't get. It's kind of a normal thing now. It's still kind of mind boggles me. But what's your take on the situation if they don't make this release date? Not necessarily just for this film, but a film in that 2026 year.
December specifically?
Yeah. Mando's going to happen.
Mando's going to happen.
It's Favreau knows how to make a Cubano and take things across the finish line. All right.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, all right, we get one Star Wars film that year. That's okay. It's one of those things where I don't really even pay attention to it. Like I just saw the other day, Moana 2 is coming out this Thanksgiving. I don't know if that's the release date that they had given us. I just only know when it's however many months away. Oh my gosh, it's like next month. Well, I only know when it's like a month away, right?
November,
So let me know. Get the hype train going right before it's going to be released. I think that that's totally normal. Again, things shift, things move. It's okay. It's all right. Get it out when it's ready and when they feel like it's going to be right.
Yeah, absolutely. I loathe the release date strategy, and it's not just Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Disney. It's the business. It's been there for a while because it's tentpole filmmaking. It's event filmmaking. It has let us, hammer down this weekend, and we're making our Google schedule for the next 4 years. Got it. We all have Google calendars we fill out. Great, but it gets frustrating too because it puts a pressure on even the fandom. I got people texting me like, "What do you think? Is this going to happen?" I'm like, I don't know. It might, but I think it will. Just maybe not December 26th. I don't know. Or they shoot it this spring and they edit as they go because films are made a little faster. It's not 10, 20 years ago. It's not our youth. In our youth, a film was made and they had 2 years to edit it. They had to get the reels. It's a little different now. Anyways, Joseph, your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think in particular with the new Jedi Order film and its release date, as a fan, for myself, it's the movie that I'm most excited about, and I would like it to be released tomorrow, please. Thank you. That's what I want as a fan. But looking at Star Wars, looking at the industry, I'm not sure if I even want it released in 2026 from a business perspective, because if Mando and Grogu are May 2026, I think releasing a new Jedi Order film in December might be a mistake. It might be too much at once, and I don't want to repeat that mistake. And as a fan, like I said, I want it tomorrow. But as looking at the business and wanting the film to succeed, I'm hurting myself by saying this out loud, because as a fan, I want it tomorrow. But release it summer, winter of 2027 and give it the best chance of success. 8 years after Rise of Skywalker. By then, the sequel kids will have an even stronger voice in the fandom. We won't be talking. We're barely talking. There's still young people dressed as Rey. Yeah. But the 5-year-old who fell in love with Rey in 2015 ain't 5 anymore. And certainly it's not going to be by 2027. And we have seen the cycle with the prequel, with the Clone Wars, with everything. The sequel kids are going to grow up and the conversation's going to change. Yeah.
Thankfully. Right? Thankfully. Looking forward to that day. Final quick look at the movie news section here. The Mando and Grogu movie is moving forward. How do we feel about that? Because I'll start by this. I've said this for years on this show. I always love when I hear something's wrapped or it's the first day of production, because in my little nerd brain, I get so excited that, hey, new Star Wars is out there, and I don't even know what it's about yet, Like, I don't even know the plot, I know the details. We got one little blip of a trailer, like a little tease, and that kind of makes me excited. Little nerd chills of, ooh, another one's in the can or getting there. So I'm excited about that. Joseph, you?
Yeah, I'm thrilled. It's great. I think to me, it's more evidence that this film, as the next theatrical Star Wars film, was the right call. Not only are Mandalorian and Grogu some of the most recognizable characters on the planet, period, right now, but super popular. And I was thinking about when Obama was in office and the nickname "No Drama Obama," because there's no tax fraud, there's no indiscretions, any of that. Is like, I was trying to think. No Fuss Favreau. Maybe we should just call him No Fuss Favreau. It's not just the strength and the popularity of the Mandalorian and Grogu that I think makes this such a smart move. It's the steady hand of Jon Favreau and the strong relationship between him and the studio. So it's like, I feel like, was it 2 seconds they started filming and it's done? It's wrapped? Good. Yeah. So I feel great about it. And I think this schedule is evidence that they are taking their time with Star Wars. Because I think if the principal filming is wrapped, they could have this in theaters by May of next year. No problem. I think they're playing it smart in terms of the release schedule and in terms of the way that Solo's release was cannibalized by its proximity to a super huge Marvel film. Star Wars doesn't exist in a vacuum. Marvel is getting back up to full steam in 2025. February is Captain America. May is Thunderbolts. July is Fantastic Four, starring Pedro Pascal. So I think the fact that it's coming out in 2026 isn't even affects in time to complete the film. I think it's wisdom to give the film a little bit of elbow room.
Absolutely. If you go to Tokyo in 2025 for Celebration and you do a big giant trailer reveal or something and you got about a year of hype, that's not unlike Force Awakens hype and November range of 2014. That's a good thing. I agree with that take there. No Fuss Favreau until he shows up in a tan suit. And then, just the worst yet.
Oh my gosh. I'm actually a little nervous because I looked up what movies are going to be released in May of 2026. There's going to be an Avengers movie in 2026 at the beginning, an untitled Marvel movie also at the beginning of May. And then the weekend before Mando and Grogu is an untitled Steven Spielberg movie. And that could be who knows what. It could be a prestige film. He's not going to make another E.T. Maybe he will. I don't know. But
it's E.T. 2.
E.T. 2.
Yeah, E2. Yeah.
Right. So
text home.
Mando and Grogu come at the end of the month. So I was like, oh, I don't know. Like people, I mean, I'm not shelling out to see multiple movies a month. It's freaking expensive, especially when you have kids. But then I was thinking, and I'm like, quite frankly, I don't know. It's a risky move, but it speaks to how much power Grogu has. If you talk to any kid, they know who Grogu is. Whereas Avengers and Marvel, I actually think it's going to be a slightly smaller audience. I think that Mando and Grogu is going to appeal to a wider audience, which is kind of amazing. And I like that about Star Wars, if I'm going to be competitive. So yeah, they're betting big. And I think it could pay off.
Yeah. Yeah, and I take your point that they're clogging up the calendar in 2026 as well, but I think there's more likelihood of them juggling those dates around
Yeah,
than
true.
they've been really locked in with 2025 for some of these.
Yeah, and you're seeing stories, some completely unconfirmed and movie blog stuff versus legacy traits, but like, this is being moved by Marvel. This is the focus is now on it'll sort itself out. Do I think Marvel would move off of May release date? No, that's obviously a big month, but yeah, to your point, Jen, the power of Grogu will be released. We'll see. That is our look at Star Wars movie news, but we got a little bit of TV news to discuss here. TV, is that even a thing anymore? I mean, it is. I have YouTube TV Live. I watch commercials again. It's great. The Skeleton Crew Director Roundtable interview was finally released by Empire as they were promoting that over the last couple weeks, and a couple reveals emerged. Like I said, the Empire Magazine Roundtable interview with the Skeleton Crew directors finally came out. A lot about the upcoming show, a lot about the process making it. I poked through the interview. It was great. Check it out. One of my favorite moments, they're all talking about their influence of Star Wars. And mine was the TIE Fighter video game. Mine was this. And then Bryce Dallas Howard's like, I grew up with George Lucas as his oldest kid. And different feeling, but it was great. It was a fun conversation. Here's the reveals, all right? Neil is not an Orderlin. I said, some thought. He is another alien. Here's John Watts. He's technically a new alien. Well, that's a whole debate I'm not going to get into right now. Laughter. The question with Orderlins is Max Rebo playing his keyboard with his feet or with his arms? Maybe John Watts should be on Subjective Force. Neil is an elephant-like species, but there are so many in the Star Wars universe. So, Joseph, thoughts on this, the great debate of our time?
I think this is very savvy, very diplomatic, very wise. I think let's preserve the limb mystery. Let's teach the controversy. Let the Orderlins be a mystery. This whole Max Rebo thing is very in Orderlins, and the limb mystery is really, really fun and really, really funny. And a part of me just like, can we please keep that fun the way we joke around about it now? I don't want it to tip into like actual theory. Like people had about Ki-Adi-Mundi's age. So like, you know what? He's a different species. He's a Borderlin, not an Orderlin. Great. Because let's keep this fun.
I'm with you. I think we need this to be fun. Not just the show, but this discussion. Yeah, the Ki-Adi-Mundi birthday thing may be one of the more aggravating things I've ever experienced as a Star Wars fan. Not the change in the date. I couldn't give two bleeps about the change. Yeah. Couldn't care. But this is fun. I like the energy Watts is having in here, including some laughter. And yeah, Jen, all right, we get another character, another species that's close, it's related, it's elephant-like. It's also blue, which is part of the fun confusion. Your thoughts?
Yeah, John Watts said Neil's an elephant-like species, but there are so many in the Star Wars universe. John, how many blue elephants are there in Star Wars? Come on.
How many blue elephants do you see right now, John?
Yeah. I mean, I love it because they knew what they were doing with this design, because immediately people who were like, oh my gosh, that looks like the alien that I know, right? From Jabba's
totally.
Oh my gosh. And then they're like, oh, no. This is like such a Star Wars thing to be like, ha, the rug is being pulled out from under you. You think but it's actually, like you said, a Bordelon. So yeah, clever move. Yeah. I like it though.
And it makes sense too. Like the more the photos have come out of this character, I think it's a great design. It is got the eyes of you're rooting for this kid with those eyes. I was going to say he's got like Chihuahua eyes when they're trying to get a treat from you, but that's my own personal experience coming into play here, I guess, over the last couple of weeks. I'm excited. New character, new species, and a new story, and a new entry in a data bank. That's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun. There were some great photos released with the article. Check them out. As I said, we're not going to go through each one, but one caught the eyes of fans. Jad Nanawood, Jude Law, and the kids are at a wall with weird writing on it here. I did have a little bit of a conversation with Alex and Molly Damon at a bar over this, but we didn't go in depth on it yet. I'm curious about their takes. But that script is also seen in the Ahsoka series on the planet Peridia. Script said to be maybe, I can't confirm it from my own knowledge, but the Sith language of Yurkitat. I didn't play those card games. I don't know any of this stuff. But
I've never tried to say that out loud, so I empathize with you being surprised by it. Urkatat.
I mean, I'm bad with syllables anyways with my messed up tongue, but but here's the thing. It's there. There's a great shot of Thrawn in the background. You got the writing. So I want to get your thoughts on this connection in a general sense, Jen.
Oh, I wrote, I have no thoughts.
I mean, that's an answer.
I want to hear your thoughts and Alex and Molly's thoughts and Joseph, your thoughts, because I got none. So.
Well, let me squeeze in the second kind of follow-up question I had here. Skeleton Crew was never sold as as not being connected to the larger Star Wars story. We knew it was set during the Mandoverse, whatever that might mean to you out there, but 5 years after the Battle of Endor and the Fall of the Empire and all that stuff. Yes, I know about the Battle of Jakku. But this is intriguing and a bit surprising for some. None more than me. I didn't expect the show to be connected like this. I'm not surprised again. Again, not surprised. I'll say that over and over again. Filoni's involved, or the whole universe. It's set in that time frame. But this was supposed to be a show, and is going to be a show of kids lost in wild space. In the interview, Watts has a great description, or maybe it was even Chris Ford, the co-showrunner and creator, saying, "Hey, our idea was what about these kids that don't know they're in Star Wars? Like they're lost in the Star Wars galaxy, but they don't really know what that means. How do we take them through the galaxy?" And so this is kind of exciting to me. I'm surprised about this connection, and I'm intrigued. And other than that, Jen, I'm kind of with you. I don't have a lot of thoughts on it. I'm just, hey, that's fun that it's there. What could that be? Joseph, what could that be?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as the one shot from the magazine of the Urkatat, I think it could be as small as like Obi-Wan seeing Quinlan Voss's name. It's like that was a fun bump for people who knew that relationship, but it's not the point. It could the point of that was the path and Obi-Wan's realization that other Jedi are still out there and fighting. So this could just be as small as they're on a creepy world and they read something about Peridia, and we're all like, "Ooh, cool," because we know that, and it's totally accessible to people who have no idea what a Peridia is. Or maybe it is connected to finding paths to that faraway galaxy that they travel to in Ahsoka. Maybe it is connected to the Thrawn plot. In terms of like the larger Star Wars connections in general, I've always thought there's a reason that this show is in this era and under the Favreau-Filoni umbrella, because I feel like if the creators came to them with this fun pitch of like, what if kids got lost in Star Wars and didn't really realize they're in Star Wars, and it's about this coming of age where you can get to the wonder of the galaxy, but first you have to pass through the fear. And they could have told that story any time in the timeline, right? I feel like it has to have been Favreau and Filoni who says, "Ooh, actually, great idea. It'll really help us to be in this era, and it'll really serve your story to be in this era." I've always thought that it's like that it's going to be like Thrawn is in half the episodes, but I've always thought that there's a reason to have it in this era when they're really building towards a big story. So maybe there's some stuff that will be like, hey, if you're just a casual fan watching, it goes right over your head. But if you're an all-in fan, it's an important detail for, building toward the great Thrawn conflict. I hope they get attacked by witches one episode, and you just were like, if you're a casual fan, like, cool, creepy witches. But if you've been following along, like, oh my God, the Night Sisters are back. This is happening after the events of Ahsoka. I think there's a reason it's in this era.
Hey, yeah, I really agree with that. Not a throwaway at all. And if this, this kind of connection, there are a lot of folks who love these connections, I think, even more than I do, because I don't even say that your prediction is going to be right, Joseph, but I think we all should be open to the idea of it is a similar to Quinlan Voss's name on the wall in the path and all that stuff with Kenobi. Like, it could just be that. And I always think that's important. It's the Boba Fett Starship Potato quandary of the solo Star Wars story era. Of it could just be something that's in the background. But yeah, if that draws in more eyes too, I know this show is definitely for. Again, they keep saying it's not for a younger audience, but it's based around younger characters, and it's going to come off as being for a younger audience, and that can be written off a little more easier by Star Wars fans at large. And I even understand why. Not that I agree with it, but I understand why. But to have this say, no, it's valuable, it's part of this. There's stuff going on. You're going to want to find out. I think that's valuable too as well. So could be. Could be there. So there you go, Jen. We had thoughts for you, if that's
Thank
okay.
you. Yeah, no, because my instinct was like, oh, it's just going to be, like you said, like the Quinlan Voss thing, like just a little thing where it's like, if you know, you know, right? And it could be one of those things where they release it in Empire Magazine because they know that like we're gonna talk about it because we know about it, right? So, but the average person is gonna be like, oh, stuff writing on a wall, cool. And I wonder like how dark is it gonna get? Like, I can't imagine that they're gonna build that out. Set that story out even more. I feel like it's gonna be pirates and swashbuckling and there's some creepy writing on the wall and maybe we might get hints of that. I wouldn't mind witches as long as they're witches from the Acolyte, not Ahsoka.
Mother Anastasia comes back.
Sorry.
Another version. Love that. Yeah, I was one of the ones that looked at the picture and went, cool picture, and then relied on the internet to go, it means maybe something a little bit more. So I'm with you all there, too. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we've got something we haven't really taken a deep dive into in a while. Comic book news. Yes, stick around for some Kylo Ren coming your way right here on ForceCenter. Welcome back to the show, Ken, Jen, Joseph, talking Star Wars news. We're here in the virtual studio. We have some comic book news. Now, we should go on record. Over the last couple of years, I think all three of us have kind of had to pull off the comic books. Not for lack of desire to read them, but just time, money, storage for me. I thought was personal take. Too many things going on. I just lost track, but it doesn't mean we don't value it. But I'm excited. We got the Battle of Jakku series that's, I think, even out. I'm going to wait for the trade. I'm excited about that. And then now we got this one here today. It is a sequel content alert. A new series announced this week called Star Wars Legacy of Vader. Charles Soule will write it with Luke Ross doing the art. Here's the description. After slaying his master, Supreme Leader Snoke, Kylo Ren is now the leader of the First Order. But recent events, including his murder of his father, defeat at the hands of Luke Skywalker, and a surprising connection with the mysterious Rey, force him to reckon with what it truly means to be Vader's heir. As he pursues his dark mission to bring order to the galaxy, Kylo's madness takes him down a deadly path to discover the truth about his grandfather's life. From Mustafar to Tatooine, these are the thrilling adventures that enabled Kylo to confront his inner turmoil and meet his destiny. The first issue arrives on February 5th, 2024. Joseph, I hear that. Oh, you got that grumble of interest going. Thoughts on going deep into the mind of Kylo Ren?
Yeah. February 5th, 2025, right?
Oh, 25. That's right. What year is this?
Oh my gosh!
I had a brief, perhaps I have slipped backward in time.
It's 2019, right? That was last year.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. It's 2000 and late. I don't know. I'm thrilled by this. Charles Soule has been one of my favorite writers of both books and comics. I believe he says in the interview that at conventions that the comic book runs that people talk to him about the most, because he's done a lot, is that Vader run of him building the castle on Mustafar, and the Rise of Kylo Ren, which is the one comic book series 4-issue that I won't shut up about, because the Star Wars editorial team let him really flesh out Kylo Ren's beginning, let him paint a portrait of Luke having a fully functioning Jedi Order. It was really satisfying by itself, that 4-issue Rise of Kylo Ren run. Really, really fleshed out and added to Kylo Ren's legacy and opened the door to lots of other storytelling. So I'm really excited about both of those things. I think going deep into Kylo's mind in this era is really fun. One of the things I like the most about Rise of Skywalker is there's a part of Kylo Ren in that film seems a little like Vader in Return of the Jedi, where he's really sort of been beaten down the way, that Vader has this sort of it's too late for me, my son. And I'm on this path. I already made my choice. There's no turning back. And I like that psychology of Kylo in Rise of Skywalker. And I think highlighting all the events that we saw in Force Awakens and Last Jedi are great, because in this era, before Palpatine has returned, Kylo's got everything he claimed he wanted: power, the ability to shape his own destiny. He has, laid waste to all the parental figures. And instead of getting anything out of all of these, quote unquote victories, he's just miserable and pining for the connection to Rey. And I think exploring that sort of failure of the dark side through his relationship with his grandfather is great.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Super excited for this. Charles Soule's perfect for this. He really understood Vader in those years, the formation of the monster. We absolutely, you're not wrong to not shut up about that comic series, the Rise of Kylo Ren. It's great, and in 4 issues packs a punch. So I'm excited. And yeah, Soule's been on a run. He's a lot of people's favorites, both whether comics, like the Jedi, New High Republic stuff. He just, I don't know. I just love his approach too. Nothing different from me on that. But yeah, I'm with you. Just I'm fascinated by the character of Kylo Ren. I'm fascinated by what Adam Driver did with that character. That's one of my favorite acting performances in the entire saga. And I think to see it played out in this way, so not everyone might want it to be a comic. They might want it to be something else, but this is what you get. I don't think you're ever going to get Adam Driver back into the role. So I think this is a good, a great author who understands this character and wants to explore this character. I'm just excited on that alone. And I agree with you. One of the things I love about Kylo after 8 is, he, becomes Kylo Ren. He claims it. He takes it. And one of my favorite things you ever said, Jen, was anyone who tells him to take the helmet off, he kills them. Like, he really doesn't like what they're doing. And emerges with what you would think, everything he wants. And then you see him at the beginning of 9, and he's panicked. He's confused. He's sad. He's messed up. He got the world, and the world wasn't enough. That's intriguing, and to explore that year is going to be fun, Jen. So your thoughts of diving into the man not yet Ben again.
Yeah, he's such a great character, and now I want to see Adam Driver back. I think it's some of his best performances, especially lately. Although I did like him in that one movie. Anyways,
that one movie.
What I can't think of what it was. With House of Gucci, was it the House of Gucci?
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was great.
House of Gucci was bonkers fun. Yeah,
it was. Yeah. It was. Anyways, yeah. The title got me though, and I was like, "Here we go again, another Vader comic." Although I know, like you guys say, people love it, so it makes sense that they're going to make more. But so this is cool. This is really cool. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I am curious though, in terms of like canon, because if stuff is going to be revealed, which it may be, like, is that going to be considered canon up until they change it? Or is it just kind of known that the comics can go wild and we can have, Calamari with a Corbin? Was it Corbin? Was that his name?
Yeah.
Right? We can have wild characters like that that's not canon. Is it?
No, it's canon. I mean,
is it canon?
These are all canon. I do think, I'll say this, the comics, particularly the last couple of years, have really, some would say, and I agree with it, do a great job in pushing the pulp of Star Wars, something I don't have a problem with. But yeah, they go places. It goes a little wild. It has feelings a little bit of some of the aspects of the EU that I don't love, and that might be some of the reasons I found it easier to push off in the comics. I love the character of Dr. Aphra. There was just sometimes I'm like, what the hell is going on in these books? But the character, I want more Aphra. I'd love to see her in live action one of these days. So I agree with you. I understand where you're coming from, but yeah, no, I think the comics play a little bit in those margins that allow for that kind of stuff, allow for a Mon Calamari with General Grievous arms and body. And it might not be for everyone, and I understand that. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Good to know.
Joseph, what's something you want this, the series to accomplish or explore? Something specific overall?
Yeah, I think to me it's about. I hope there's some really interesting sort of canonical events that pop up in it. But I think one of the reasons that it's interesting to me is that I think this comic book medium is really great for Vader, for Kylo Ren, because it can afford to just sort of wallow in the darkness and the sadness, and it's still visually dynamic. And like, as much as I'd like, can we have an animated series of this year with, Adam Driver or somebody else doing the voice? And like, that would be a depressing 22 minutes every week of,
Yes.
But for a comic book, I feel like, well, what I want is to just dive into his pain and his hypocrisy and his hubris and his confusion. I love that it isn't just what Kylo Ren got up to. It's about his connection with Vader. He has claimed to everyone what he wants is to be free of all this connection to legacy. But Vader's the one bit of legacy he's clung to make himself feel like he's on the right path. That great Force Awakens scene of, show me again the power of the dark side, grandfather, right? He's looking to him for inspiration, and I think it is this great sort of like he had this great anxiety about being, the child and the nephew of these great heroes, the namesake of this great Jedi, Obi-Wan Ben Kenobi. And then he did his 23andMe and like, wait, I had a different role model I could have followed, and I'm going to glom onto this dark, gothy, cool. So in this time where he has successfully pushed away or slaughtered every other connection, the one connection he wants, Rey, has denied him, that he would be wanting to embrace Vader's legacy and that Kylo would be telling himself he is going on this journey to retrace Anakin's steps to prove to Kylo that he's on the right path. I think he would want the evidence that Anakin made all the right choices and I'm walking in his footsteps. He was right to kill Anakin and become Vader. I'm right to kill Ben and become Kylo. But I think the truth of what he's going to be going through is, why did Anakin fall? Did he make the right choice? Am I making the right choice? And I think all of that desire to see evidence that he's made the correct choice and finding nothing but evidence that he has made the wrong choice, that's great psychological journey for him to get to where he is in Rise of Skywalker, which I think he's explicitly doesn't want to see the dark side as a choice. I think he's lying to himself, and he's trying to manipulate Rey when he basically says, it's our bloodline. I didn't choose this. It's just inevitable. And so this journey into his connection with Vader, I think, could be a great, sad journey for him to build that lie in his mind of like, it's destiny. Vader's darkness is too powerful, and it was in my blood. And I didn't choose this. I didn't make it so I can never go back to my mom, the one person alive who still loves me. It was just destiny.
Yeah, you're selling it in a great way that I was already on board, but that's the one thing I really wanted to accomplish is what was there in Force Awakens. It wasn't like it wasn't dealt with. I just think like a lot of like the other movies, particularly the prequels, along the way, and that's just George and his team going, hey, let's focus on Anakin more than the politics and this and that, and the politics were present. By the time you get to Revenge of the Sith, it might have been slightly different. Obviously, for director, baton, race, whatever you want to say, criticize it if you want. But between 7 and 9, I think the focus has changed a little bit. And coming out of 7 and going into 7, yeah, that moment of, yeah, grandfather, I'm gonna finish the job, man. I shall finish the game, to quote Young Guns too. It just doesn't go away for me. It's just the focus switches, and I like where it goes. And to be able to explore that, you're talking about a journey through real history, which is one of my things in the real world outside of Star Wars that I love focusing on. It has changed me. It has changed my worldview, where you actually go something you thought you knew in terms of the actual history of something, you dive in. It's way more complicated than you thought. It might be, in some cases, a lie that you were sold. Who knows? But it forces you to reevaluate who you are and come to a decision point. And if you make that decision or not, I love what you're selling. I've always thought that's there, right? Kylo kind of gave up. Connecting it to the "there's too late for me, my son" moment and Jedi, I think is absolutely right in terms of the spirit. And if we can really this is the payoff of why he even has that damn burnt, broken helmet to begin with, why he's connected, why he wants to finish. And then by the time we've seen him, is he a guy who sees the truth, as you're kind of talking about, Joseph, kind of knows, oopsie, but it's too far gone. So how does he come up with that justification? How does he come up with this idea that destiny is now a prison for me that I can't escape? That's what I want to explore. And at the end of the day, this is why I'm excited it is a comic. I've had my ups and downs with the Star Wars comics the last few years. I'm excited because exactly what you're saying. You can take some time, and a novel could accomplish this as well, but you could take some time. And yes, I know what Adam Driver looks like. I've been watching him since Girls, but in a book, it's here. But to actually see some great art of what's going through his face, his eyes, as best you can on a page, which I think is going to be great. To come up with that justification in a way, it's one thing I want to explore.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, just one other thing I'll throw out there real quick. I think I love the explanation of dark side because I think it can understand our own relationship with anger, and I think I have certainly got to that point sometimes where I'm really angry, and I kind of can't stop myself, and like I know that there's a better choice I could make, and like I'm conscious of it, right? But I'm too angry, and I stick to the angry decision because it's too scary to drop the anger and make what is the right decision. And I think, that to me is sort of one of the analogies of the dark side, that this poor man is stuck in that moment that I think many of us have had when we're in the middle of an argument and we know we're wrong, but we can't let it go because it's too scary to admit how badly you effed up. And the idea that we've experienced that in sometimes when we're having a 15-minute argument with a loved one, but there's a person who's living through that for years at a time, that moment where there's that little voice going, you effed up, and all you have to do is say, I'm wrong, but you can't let yourself because it's too scary. Fascinating and important stuff.
Yeah. It's like trying to respond to YouTube comments. I need 5 drafts before I get to the correct and more acceptable one. Jed, any of this sound intriguing to you here? Or have we switched your... Yeah, we are not convincing you to like... You were going to like this, but like, you know what I mean? Anything here pulling you?
Yeah, if I can read it on digital, that'd be the best. But I really like what Charles Soule said about it. At this point in the story, Kylo Ren is an emotional mess. He really doesn't know who he is. He's trying to figure that out, and he's wrestling with that and getting to see that on the page and getting to get into his inner thoughts about that struggle of his identity and eventually bridging the gap between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. I think that's really interesting. How is he going to find comfort in his grandfather's helmet? It's like a security blanket, or he's trying to like get strength. And obviously I don't think it's going to give him really what he's looking for. And he's just struggling and flailing on how to be a baddie. That's interesting. But he still is scary and dangerous. But there's a vulnerability that I think is going to be showcased, which is what's interesting to me.
I didn't want to, actually, we do. This is what we like to do with the Star Wars news, spin it off in discussions about things, and I don't want to linger too long here today. But I love what you just said there, Jen, of this kind of emotional wreck of a guy with some good reasons. Han and Leia weren't the best parents at times. All those, his uncles, Luke, a lot there with the guy. And he continues to make wrong choices. And when we meet up with him, he's trying to draw power from a dead icon. Like Anakin ain't even home. Anakin's not there anymore. That's a burnt relic of a bad choice and a bad path and a bad past, and you're trying to draw strength from something that's empty. That is powerful stuff, and we can explore it and break that down even more. And this is an ongoing series. This isn't a 4-issue arc. This is going to be an ongoing series. I'm fascinated by that. All right. Well, the final question about this, the final little topic here. As I mentioned, we got the Battle of Jakku going. Got a new Poe Dameron comic, Ethan Sachs writing, that's leading up to The Force Awakens, which sounds familiar to the previous Poe Dameron comic that led up to The Force Awakens, but we're there again. And this book, we might be entering, I think we are entering, a new era of diving into the sequels. Charles Soule even kind of mentions that in this interview or in the press for this, saying it's fertile ground. So is there any thoughts on that? And what or who else are you interested in seeing, Jen?
I want an animated series, and I want it on Maz Kanata. It's one of those things where I'm like, how interesting would it be? Tales from Maz's castle. And I don't know. I'm sure that there's all sorts of material out there that's talked about the castle and her backstory and whatever. I don't know it, or am I forgotten about it? So I'd love to see that in an animated form. I think that, and please bring Lupita Nyong'o back, because her performance is everything. So.
I love that role. That is great. Quick one for me. I'm going back to 2015 and early 2016. Old Spotlight Star Wars Ken here on ForceCenter. My old Ramble show. Give me just 4 issues of the ill-fated journey of Corsella going to Hosnian Prime to try to convince Chancellor Vilchem and the politicians there that Leia was right. She's not a warmonger. We have a threat. We have a problem, and we know how that ends. We got 2 seconds of Corsella in the movie after the cuts were made. I would love to explore just a little bit more of that state of the galaxy, which, remember that 2015 conversation that was around a lot of the Star Wars punditry was like, this is cool. We'd like to know a little bit more of the state of the galaxy, just kind of this general general kind of conversation point. But now I'd love to explore that. Would that be a popular series? 4 issues of the death of Corsella? I don't know, but that's the kind of thing that I want to explore even more, and you can kind of zoom in on that. So it's a pipe dream, I know, Joseph. But anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think just sort of fleshing out this year of war. I mean, we've got a little bit in the books of, we have Resistance Reborn. It's kind of the immediate aftermath of trying to rebuild. But I don't think we have a lot of kind of getting them to their new base on Agent Class. A general, even just like a 12 issue, maybe that's got a little spotlight of we get a little bit more on Leia and Rey's training. We get missions with Poe and Finn and Rose. And as much as I love Rise of Skywalker, I do think, it's really unfortunate that some of Rose's stuff ended up on the cutting room floor. And I think highlighting her character a little bit more and the sort of idea of her as a symbol of just an everyday person who is committing to the fight. I would love more Maz Kanata, because Maz Kanata has that like sort of, I'll help you out, but I'm not getting involved. And then like, screw it. I'm all in. I'm on the base, give me some Beaumont Kin adventures. I think it would be helpful to kind of depict that year in between as a little bit more of like the war rages,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. And help dig into that era, help define that era a little bit more, dig into it, have some fun. And everyone always goes to what the Clone Wars did for the prequels. And over the years, that has either been used as a real big negative general swipe to the prequels, and I can admit to doing that, including drunkenly to Dave Filoni's face at a Comic-Con party, or you could actually approach it of just like, no, there's just fertile ground that George himself was like, yeah, let's go dive in, and the rewards, I think, are clear. So hopefully that will be on the way. We'll see. We'll update you here. A lot of fun discussing this one here today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We're wrapping on up. We are ForceCenter Pod, and you can find us on socials at ForceCenter Pod. Our Forcebook. We should just start our own app called Forcebook. Our Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. Instagram, YouTube as well. Hey, if you're here on YouTube, leave a nice comment. Don't make me a comment don't leave a comment that makes me have to go through 5 cycles of anger to respond to. Like the video, help us with that algorithm. All those things you hear are real. You can find the podcast in a lot of spots. Just search, you'll find us. Merch available 2 spots, tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter, or our Fourth Wall shop, link below here if you're watching on YouTube. Patreon.com/ForceCenter is where you can support us directly. As we said up top, we hit 415. We are going to have that private live stream soon enough. Stay tuned for that information. Find me at Ken Napzok, or go to my website, KenNapzok.com, where you can link to my radio show, Pop Rocket Radio. Just had a great Halloween show, a lot of fun. I love sharing music with people, so join me on that journey as well. Jen, where can they find you? Because if they missed your journey with that R2-D2 costume, they missed a fun ride.
Thanks. I'll be sharing more of my Halloween costume adventures at Jennifer Landa on Instagram, YouTube, wherever, and TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138.
1138, indeed. Joseph, yes, thank you for being here. We know you're stressed. We know you're making film. You're creating art, which is nothing but business problems after business problems. Tell us where they can find you, and also continue to support the film. The support is not done. It's not wrapped up.
No, not at all. So thank you all for the kind words and the support. A lot of people in ForceCenter listeners, viewers in particular, watched The Nightmare Adorable, the 22-minute short film I made that Ken was one of the stars of. That's finally available for the public on YouTube. So thank you all for checking that out and saying nice things. You can find me on Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, at Joseph Scrimshaw, everywhere. And if you want to go to my website, josephscrimshaw.com, there's a little teaser concept trailer for this film I'm making called Dead Media. And there's a link to an organization called Film North that can take one-time tax-deductible donations to the film. And even though the film is going forward, still need to raise some funds. So any amount of help that you can and are willing to give, very, very appreciated. That's on my website, josephscrimshaw.com.
There it is. Support it. Support independent creators as they fight uphill in a studio system still ongoing. Can't wait to see the results there. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.